Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, the Slim Down Daddy, and I'm here to help you look good in a t-shirt again. Now, what I want to do today, I want to give you two tips that got me started, that got me going, because what we find is that the, the whole process is just daunting. We're sitting there, we're 10, 20, 30 kilograms overweight, and we're like, how in the world am I going to do this? And we can be overwhelmed with so much information on dieting, information on training, and it just becomes a little too much. So I have two tips that I used, that I did, I guess, that I implemented to get me going, to actually make a start and to start to see some results. So I want to tell you a little bit of my story because it's important that you understand. Well, what I want to do is kind of hopefully that you connect with it, because I think we all find ourselves as men in this situation. And my story begins when I was in my late 30s, and I briefly touched on this in my previous video, is that I just started to notice that I was needing to wear slightly bigger t-shirts. I was just a small gut starting to appear. I was always quite slim as a young man, and then but I thought at that point, well, it's okay. I'm still active. I'm still fit. I'm still going to. It's all going to be all right. But I didn't really take much notice of it, and I guess I just got comfortable in how I looked and what I was wearing. And when I look back at some past photos, I used to dress pretty badly, and it was never a good look. So by the time I got to 45, I was 30 kilograms overweight, and at 106 kilo, 5'7", wasn't a good look. And I wondered how in the world was I going to get back to where I was, and that around that 75 kilo mark. It seemed just too daunting, and I read a lot of books. I read books. I talked to a lot of people on how they did it, and it all just seemed daunting. And I'd started going to the gym, but I wasn't really into it. I was doing it because I wanted to kind of just lose weight, and I found that all a little overwhelming. And so, consequently, initially, I never got any results. Didn't happen. So what I did do was, well, what actually happened? I had an epiphany moment, if you will. That's what happened. And I, sitting there on the side of my bed in the morning, I was putting on my shoes, and I bent over to tie my shoelaces, and I literally could not breathe. It was just, my gut was so big, it just stopped me from taking a breath. And I had to literally take a big deep breath so I could bend down and tie each shoelace. It was just embarrassing. It was hideous. And I was like, that's where I had my epiphany moment. I sat on the side of my bed after I tied my shoelaces and thought, this is it. I've had enough. And that's the first tip, because you have got to get to that decision moment. You've got to get to that epiphany moment. You've got to be so put off with the way you feel and the way you look that you are just dead determined to do something. And honestly, it's from that moment that I started to change things. And my attitude towards the gym started to shift. And instead of going to the gym because I wanted to lose weight, I actually went to the gym because I started to enjoy it. I actually embraced lifting those weights. And now, even today, I still lift weights, and I love it. Every time I get there, it's like it's my second home. I just, and regardless of the results. And when you let go of the results, and there's a little side tip, when you let go of the results, actually the results come. And I just started to embrace the journey. And but of course, with that, it's you then start thinking about your diet, and you look at a whole lot of different diets: paleo diet, keto diet, Atkins diet, whatever it is, and it just becomes again overwhelming, and it just becomes too much. So what I decided to do, rather than completely change my whole diet, I decided I was going to change one thing. I was going to change one thing for 3 weeks. That's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to see if that will make a difference. And the one thing I changed, sugar. I cut out sugar as much as I could, and I've got to admit, um, the first couple of days it was not that good, because I always had sugar in my coffee, I had sugar on my cereal, and I had to change things up a little bit. So I stopped eating cereal. I'd have a piece of toast instead with some Marmite. I would certainly I started drinking less coffee at that point because I didn't really enjoy it. But then now I still don't have any sugar. 10 years down the track, but I do. Um, but now I do really enjoy coffee without sugar. Your taste buds change and shift. So I did it as much as I could. That I eliminated as much sugar as I could because I knew if I could change one thing, that will be a start. That will be where I can move forward. Now in those 3 weeks, I actually dropped 5 kilograms, and that was because I just changed sugar. And so it's just one thing. And then after that 3 week period, I then decided to change other things. I stopped eating bread. So I was eating just stuff without bread. I wouldn't put stuff in sandwiches basically. And then we're like for breakfast, I changed it up a bit where I made my own homemade muesli and so on. But it was making that one change, and that's the second tip, to actually finding the motivation to actually keep going and actually get started even. So if you can do that, if you can really sit down and be hard on yourself and be brutal on yourself and just draw a set of balls and say, I'm going to do this, make that decision. The second thing is change one thing in your diet, just one thing for 3 weeks, and see if that makes a difference. If you do that, or if you have done that, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys, because I'm just an average guy. I just want to help you and motivate you to actually lose weight and look good in a t-shirt again. See you next time.